target. So do you think we can expect a flood more sanctions against particular individuals and companies later today?
Well, the EU has, some EU members have been quoted as saying they want big bang sanctions against Russia. Again, this is very ominous. We can only guess what they mean by that. But there are people within the EU who've already sanctioned 27 high-profile Russian entities. That's one, incidentally, for every member state of the EU. After this announcement by President Putin, we would expect perhaps more sanctions, of course, from the West and the EU. What they would be is still up for debate. There have been some kind of toothless sanctions promised and carried out by the US. Of course, Joe Biden said he would target the economies of Luhansk and Donetsk by imposing trade sanctions on the two regions, despite them having no kind of trade relationship between the US and those regions. We are expecting more sanctions. What they will be is still yet to be seen.
OK, well, I'm sure you'll be with us throughout the day. Danny, thanks for bringing us up to speed on the latest. That's RT's Danny Armstrong. Thank you. Well, the US accused Russia of launching an invasion when it unveiled its latest sanctions. According to the Russian ambassador to the US, these will affect the global energy market, where the most pain will be felt. And President Joe Biden did acknowledge that the new measures may backfire on the United States itself. RT's Saskia Taylor picks up the story.
Oil's around $100 a barrel. Your weekly shop might empty your wallet. Inflation might reach record highs, but don't worry, it's all worth it.
Defending freedom will have cost for us as well, and here at home. We need to be honest about that.
Now, Americans here might ask two questions. One, which freedom? After all, Ukraine's not topping any democracy indexes. And two, where's Ukraine? You see, back in 2014, a poll showed that 84% of Americans couldn't place it on a map. Maybe they've Googled it since, but maybe they haven't. So they're probably not keen on goading a nuclear power to defend it. In fact, they're definitely not. Over 50% of Americans think Washington has no business in Ukraine, especially if it means that they take the hit.
Sometimes I think we should just do our own thing in the world and not be worried about everybody else. They don't really appreciate us anyway. Obviously, things are not going great at home here. There's a lot of divisiveness, and people don't seem to like each other very much, and you worry about the rest of the world's problems. Maybe you got a few things to straighten out at home first. Clean your own house first before you go trying to clean somebody else's, you know?
I think that a lot of the focus overseas is definitely getting more attention, and in the U.S. we do need more attention on things that are happening here at our home.
We have a lot of issues, and they aren't addressed. We need to mind our own business.
The sanctions will topple Putin, never mind that they haven't before. And the US will defend Kiev's model democracy. To hell with those citizens and affordable petrol.
Confrontation, war with Russia is and will be very costly to the American people, beginning with increased inflation, making it harder for us to afford gas, food, and other necessities of life. But Biden administration and warmongers, Republican and Democrat, couldn't care less.
Across the Atlantic, the political elites apparently just as keen to sacrifice their people for a good PR campaign. Germans are split right down the middle on what to do with Nord Stream 2. But still, their chancellor halted the pipeline certification. Spoiler alert, no cheap natural gas for you, but at least we taught Moscow a lesson.
If you sanction a lot of one country, then it's going to affect a lot of other countries. So maybe the sanctions should be able, if there are sanctions, it should be more minimalistic, rather than major hits.
Sanctions as a whole just generally don't work economically. And I'm in the economist in the finance business, so no.
I suppose sanctions don't ever work. Nothing works really, and it will hurt. It will hurt the Ukraine. It will hurt all sorts of people with the sanctions.
The good news is the politicians have promised relief. Don't worry, it's temporary. Help is on the way. Is it, though?
Russia provides, I think, 30 to 40% of the supply to Europe. There is no single country that can replace that kind of volume. There isn't the capacity to do that from liquefied natural gas.
History is a great teacher, and it showed that trampling on the people is part and parcel of politics. Hundreds of thousands marched against the Vietnam War. Millions protested the invasion of Iraq. But nothing changed. After all, it wasn't the politicians sending their sons to the front line, or they who, this time, won't be able to pay their bills. So it's all good. But you have to admit, it takes a special kind of hate to wage a campaign that hits your own people more than your enemy.
Well, earlier, my colleague Peter Scott discussed Russia's special military operation with former Pentagon security